Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Saraswati Deve Gauravani Chakve Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Jagavati. We need a book.
Which?
Where we left off yesterday.
We've been reading from our phones.
Yeah. I can pull up the
It's
verse.
Canto 7 if it's over there. Chapter 1.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
We don't have books.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay.
Chapter 7, right?
Chapter 1.
Yeah, chapter
Verse
Canto 7, Chapter 1,
Yes, we
text
did finish
number
yesterday. Yeah.
44, I think.
44.
No, chapter 2.
Chapter?
One.
Yeah, we finished chapter 1.
Oh, yeah, we started chapter 2.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, we didn't start chapter 2 yet.
Yeah,
So,
we have to start it from
721.
G, yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Mukhaṁ karoti vācālam pangurvam gayate girim kripa namaham vande siguru dinatarinam vanchakāpat purubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva patitānaṁ pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. This chapter is entitled Hiraṇyākṣa, King of the Demons. Asura Bhava, best of the demons. We'll read the summary. As described in this chapter, after the annihilation of Hiraṇyākṣa, Hiraṇyākṣipu's sons and his brother, Hiraṇyākṣa's sons and his brother Hiraṇyākṣipu were very much aggrieved. Hiraṇyākṣipu reacted very sinfully by trying to diminish the religious activities of people in general. However, he instructed his nephews about a history just to diminish their aggrievement. When the personality of Godhead appeared as the boar and killed Hiraṇyākṣipu's brother Hiraṇyākṣa, Hiraṇyākṣipu was very much aggrieved. In anger, he accused the Supreme Personality of Godhead of being partial to his devotees and derided the Lord's appearance as Varaha to kill his brother. He began to agitate all the demons and Rakshasas and disturb the ritualistic ceremonies of the peaceful sages and other inhabitants of earth. For want of the performance of yajna sacrifice, the demigods began wandering unseen on earth. After finishing the ritualistic funeral ceremonies of his brother, Hiraṇyākṣipu began speaking to his nephews, quoting from the Shastras about the truth of life. To pacify them, he spoke as follows, quote, "My dear nephews, for heroes to die before the enemy is glorious. According to their different fruitive activities, living entities come together within this material world and are again separated by the laws of nature. We should always know, however, that the spirit soul, which is different from the body, is eternal, inadjustable, pure, all-pervading, and aware of everything. When bound by the material energy, the soul takes birth in higher or lower species of life, according to varying association, and in this way receives various types of bodies in which to suffer or enjoy. One's affliction by the conditions of material existence is the cause of happiness and distress. There are no other causes. And one should not be aggrieved upon seeing the superficial actions of karma. Hiraṇyākṣa then related a historical incident concerning a king, Suyagya, who resided in the country named Viṣṇu. When the king was killed, his queens, overwhelmed with grief, received instructions which Hiraṇyākṣa quoted to his nephews. Hiraṇyākṣa related an account of a kulinga bird pierced by the arrow of a hunter while lamenting for his wife, who had also been shot by the same hunter. His wife was shot. He was lamenting, and while he was there lamenting, he was shot. By narrating these stories, Hiraṇyākṣa pacified his nephews and other relatives and relieved them of lamentation. Thus, having been pacified, Diti and Vrishabhanu, Hiraṇyākṣa's mother and sister-in-law, engaged their minds in spiritual understanding. So we begin reading. So what do I have to do to get the purport? Click on it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it works? Ta-da! This is text 1. Sri Narada Uvacha Prataryevam Vinidhate Harina Kroda Murtina Hiraṇyākṣa Rajan Paryatapya Usha Rucha. Sri Narada Muni said of his own son Prahlāda. Narada Muni began narrating the story by explaining how Hiraṇyākṣa had become a staunch enemy of Lord Viṣṇu. Text 2. Aha chedam rusha purna sandashta dashana chadha kopajvala. Hiraṇyākṣa gazed at the sky with eyes that blazed in anger, making the whole sky smoky. Thus he began to speak. Now you know what a demon is. The fire in his eyes would burn, create smoke. As usual, the demon is envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and inimical toward him. These were features as he considered how to kill Lord Viṣṇu and devastate his kingdom by Vaikuṇṭha-loka. So what do we notice going on here? And it doesn't even seem to bother him. Have you seen that before? In the world? And you wonder, how can a person do that? Well, Hiraṇyākṣa was the Adi dictator. Sadasi Danavan Idam Abravit, exhibiting his terrible teeth, fierce glance, and frowning eyebrows. Terrible to see, he took up his weapon, a trident, and thus began speaking to his associates, the assembled demons. Text 4 and 5. Bhobo Dhanavad Daitya Dvimodham Chaksha Shambhara Shutabhaho Hayagriva Namuche Bhaka Ilvala Viprachite Mama Vacha Bulaman Shakuna Dayaha Shrinnu Tanantaram Sarve Kriyatam Ashumachiram. O Dhanavas and Daityas, O Dvimodha, Yaksha, Shambara, Shatabahu, O Hayagriva, Namuchi, Paka, and Ilvala, O Viprachiti, Piloman, Shakuna, and other demons. All of you kindly hear me attentively, and then act according to my words without delay. Text 6. Shapat na ghatata shudra brata me daita surit parshni grahena harina samenapyu padavana. My insignificant enemies, the demigods, have combined to kill my very dear and obedient well-wisher, my brother Hiraṇyākṣa. Although the Supreme Lord Viṣṇu is always equal to both of us, namely the demigods and the demons, this time, being devoutly worshipped by the demigods, he has taken their side and helped them kill Hiraṇyākṣa. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:22, Samoham sarvabhuteshu. The Lord is equal to all living entities. Since the demigods and demons are both living entities, how is it possible that the Lord was partial to one class of living beings and opposed to another? Actually, it is not possible for the Lord to be partial. Nonetheless, since the demigods, the devotees, always strictly follow the Supreme Lord's order, because of sincerity, they are victorious over the demons, who know that the Supreme Lord is Viṣṇu, but do not follow his instructions. Because of constantly remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viṣṇu, the demons generally attain Sayuja Mukti after death. Constantly remembering Krishna as an enemy. The demon Hiraṇyākṣa accused the Lord of being partial because the demigods worshipped him. But in fact, the Lord, like the government, is not partial at all. The government is not partial to any citizen, but if a citizen is law-abiding, he receives abundant opportunities from the state laws to live peacefully and fulfill his real interests. Yeah, samoham sarvabhuteshu. That's kind of like Krishna's public policy. But when you investigate further, well, that's his public policy. Yeah, I'm equal. I'm equal to everybody. That means I don't hate anybody. And I don't give preference to one over another. But at the same time, I reciprocate. So I don't arbitrarily like you and not like you. But I like you because you like me, and I don't like you because you don't like me. Well, it's not that I don't like you, but I don't pay attention to you because you don't like me, and that's just normal. You can't fault anybody. Would you fault anybody? You would fault them if they ignored the person that loved you. But you wouldn't fault them for ignoring the person who ignored you or hated you. That's just normal. So when Krishna says, I'm equal, it's like, yeah, I won't arbitrarily love or hate anybody, but if you become my devotee, then Prabhupada said, Krishna's official position is like a king, takes care of the citizens, but becoming a devotee means family. Now you're in the family, so the king takes care of the family. Yeah. So there was a story, I don't know if it was Akbar, could have been Akbar. He heard that God incarnates to personally save his devotees, and he said, I don't believe that. He doesn't need to do that personally. Why? And so his minister said, I'll explain it. Someday I'll explain it to you. So what his minister did is he made a model, a lifelike looking model of his son. And there was a moat. And he arranged that there would be guards around the moat. There would be a boat. This model of the sun would go on the boat. And then the boat would sink. It was all arranged. And when it was starting to sink, he would call the king. So it was happening. And the king saw, all the guards were around, and the king jumped in the water to save his son. And then when he went to save, he came out. So what kind of joke is this? This is not my son. And he said, you remember, you didn't believe that God comes personally to save his own devotees? He said, all these guards were around. You could have told anyone, go save my son. You did it yourself. King said, now I understand. Teaching by a lesson in real life. Right? So, that's natural. So Krishna is taking care of everybody. We're in the material world, forgetting him, not believing in him perhaps, criticizing him perhaps, committing sinful activity. Still, he's providing. So he's equal. He's not saying, I don't like you, no food for you. I'm going to stop growing. Everything in your backyard will stop growing. I don't like it. You can grow whatever you want in your backyard. As much as you want, you grow it. Yes. And Prabhupada gives another example. He said, when you build a city, before there's any people in the city, you build everything the people will need, which will include a prison. There's no prisoners, but you know there will be, because there always are. There's always criminals, so you need a jail. Is the government being prejudicial? Oh, they're building a jail, they don't like criminals. No, we want to keep criminals away from the public. We have to lock them up for the protection of the public. It's not like we have issues with criminals, everyone's a criminal I hate, for the protection of the public. We have prisons. So, you don't have to end up in prison. You can go to the park, the government will make nice parks, schools, universities, hospitals, so many things. You can take advantage. Or you could end up in prison. Is the government partial? No. If you get bad grades, does that mean the government doesn't like you? So, text 7 and 8. Tasya tyaktya svabhavasya Hiraṇyākṣa vanokṣaha Vajantam vajamanasya bhavasyeva stiratmanaha matchula bhina grivasya bhurina udarena va asrit priyam tharpaishye prattaram me gatabhyataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has given up his natural tendency of equality toward the demons and demigods. Did I just read that? No. Although he is the Supreme Person now, influenced by māyā, he has assumed the form of a boar to please his devotees, the demigods, just as a restless child leans toward someone. I shall therefore sever Lord Viṣṇu's head from his trunk by my trident, and with the profuse blood from his body I shall please my brother Hiraṇyākṣa, who is so fond of sucking blood. Thus shall I, too, be peaceful. Hare Krishna. I think he's a little delusional. Purport. The defect of the demoniac mentality is expressed in this verse very clearly. Hiraṇyākṣa thought that Viṣṇu also becomes partial, like a child whose mind is not steady or resolute. The Lord can change his mind at any time. Hiraṇyākṣa thought, and therefore his words and activities are like those of children. In other words, you can't trust his words because he can change his mind whenever he wants. Actually, because the demons are ordinary human beings, their minds change. And being materially conditioned, they think the Supreme Personality of Godhead is conditioned also. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, fools deride me when I descend in human form. So what Prabhupada is explaining here, of this tendency to think of Krishna like oneself. I am like this, therefore Krishna must have the same limitations. And so, because they think that way, then they criticize Krishna or make him to be ordinary. Demons always think that Viṣṇu can be killed. So, we also have a different kind of killing. Here Hiraṇyākṣa he's saying, I'm going to try to kill Viṣṇu with my trident. But atheism is also an effort to kill God with words, or with philosophy. If you call it philosophy, yeah, you can call it philosophy. Atheism is also an attempt, not a personal attempt with a weapon, as many demons try to kill Krishna, but it's an attempt to kill him with words, to prove he doesn't exist. And therefore, you have this concept, I forget who came up with it, Nietzsche or someone, God is dead. He didn't really mean that we killed God, but he meant that God was never in existence, and we killed the idea that there is a God. So now God is dead. The idea of God is dead. So that's demoniac mentality. Why do we need God to be dead? Because if God is not dead, we can't be God. If he is dead, we can be. So he is raining on our parade, so to speak. If we can just remove him from the picture, then there's nobody to stop you from doing whatever you want and telling you that is wrong. This is right, this is wrong. No God, and you're free to be your own God, do whatever you want. And you remove the competition, and you can go forward in your life. So, Hiraṇyākṣa, he's obviously a demon, but that same mentality exists in any materialistic mind. To one degree or another, that mentality exists. Hiraṇyākṣa just personifies it to the extreme. So if you meet someone on the street and you say, we're all envious of God. They say, I'm not envious of God. Say, we all hate God. I don't hate God. We're all competing with God. I'm not competing with God. But we understand it's subtle, because your desire to control and enjoy is competition with Krishna, unless you're doing that in a way that will please him. We understand that as devotees. Other people, they don't understand. You see a beautiful woman, beautiful girl, young man. He immediately thinks about enjoying her. That's Krishna's business, not your business. Krishna can actually enjoy them. That's another topic. You can't even enjoy them. Krishna can. But when we think that way, then we're imitating and taking his position. Correct? Correct. Are we awake?
Correct.
Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Shivani Sai ki jai, Sitaram Lakshmana Mohan ki jai.
Try.
Humans always think that Vishnu can be killed, therefore, being absorbed in thoughts of Vishnu's form to kill him, at least they have the opportunity to think of Vishnu unfavorably. Which is better than not thinking of him at all. Although they are not devotees, their thinking of Vishnu is effective, and thus they generally attain sayuja mukti, becoming one with Krishna. Because the demons consider the Supreme Lord an ordinary living being, they think they can kill Lord Viṣṇu as one might kill an ordinary person. Another fact disclosed herein is that demons are very much fond of sucking blood. Indeed, all of them are meat eaters and bloodsuckers. I don't know if we should call people who eat meat bloodsuckers to their face. It's kind of a dramatic way to get someone to stop eating meat. But I like meat. You're just a bloodsucker. They hit you in the face when you say that. Yes. So the atheists, they are convinced they have killed God. There's like no doubt in their mind. They have killed him through logic, through philosophy, through proving religion is completely bogus, mythological, imaginative, etc. And that God is just an imagination. It's also imaginative, and man needed God. Now we have science, we don't need God. We don't know how to do it ourselves. When we didn't know how to do it, we couldn't explain the universe. Put God in there, it explains everything. Now we can explain it. It all started with the bang, etc. So we don't need God. We've explained God away. Only one minor detail they can't prove their theory. Just a minor comment. Hiraṇyākṣa accused the Supreme Lord of having a restless mind like that of a small child, who can be induced to do anything if simply offered some cakes and ladus. Indirectly, this indicates the true position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam param toyam yome bhakta pravitshati taraham bhaktu paritam shnami paritatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. The Lord accepts the offerings of the devotees because of their transcendental love. Because they are in love with the Supreme Lord, they do not eat anything without offering it first to the Lord. The Lord does not hanker for a small leaf or flower. He has enough to eat. Indeed, he is feeding all living entities. Nonetheless, because he is very merciful and is Bhakta Vatsala, very favorable to the devotees, he certainly eats whatever they offer him with love and devotion. This quality should not be misjudged to be childish. The highest quality of the Supreme Lord is that he is Bhakta Vatsala. In other words, he is always extremely pleased with his devotees. As for the word māyā, when used in reference to the dealings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, the word means affection. The actions of the Lord to favor his devotees are not disqualifications, but signs of his natural affection. As for Rudira, or the blood of Lord Viṣṇu, since there is no possibility of severing Lord Viṣṇu's head from his body, there is no question of blood. But the garland that decorates Viṣṇu's body is as red as blood. When the demons achieve Sayuja Mukti and leave behind their sinful activities, they are blessed by Viṣṇu's garland, which is red like blood. After attaining Sayuja Mukti, the demons are sometimes promoted to the Vaikuntha Loka, where they receive the reward of the Lord's garland prasad. So, Hiraṇyākṣa is teaching us how not to be, how not to speak, how not to think, and how not to act. That's what we learn from him. So, in Vedic psychology, there's a principle, and you also find this in Yoga Sutras, Ayurveda. There's a principle. If you have a fault, character flaw, let's say, or a wrong way of thinking, you should just do the opposite. You should practice the opposite. So if you're proud, then try to do acts of humility. You may not be humble, but actions are very powerful in recreating beliefs and habits, new beliefs and new habits. So that's a recommendation, just 180 degree, whatever it is, 180 degree. That's a practice. And so we can 180 degree Hiraṇyākṣa. Wherever he does, just be the opposite, you'll be fine. So he's showing us exactly how not to think. Now this verse, Patra Pushpam Palam Toyam, it's very important if you take it on a deeper level. Because really, it embodies the essence of Bhakti. Because we were talking last night about being able to act. Being able to act, but not always being able to act in Krishna, being able to do devotional service, but not internally being aligned, getting the job done, but internally, maybe not devotionally. So, in the purport, Prabhupada said, you're offering something to Krishna with bhakti, and you're offering him something that he doesn't need, because he has everything. And even the service that we're doing, he doesn't need it. The service is for our benefit. Now we understand, if I don't do my service, then the movement won't go on, the temple won't be clean, the cows won't be cared for, etc., etc. But actually, all that service is created for us, because we need service. So Krishna is self-sufficient, he's up and running, he doesn't need our service. So he allows us to do service. Correct? So if he's allowing us to do service and he doesn't need the service, what's the most important part of the service? And what is the service for? It's so we can express affection and love. So if we're just focused on getting the job done and thinking, hey, I got the job done, so everything's good, we miss the whole point. Right? Offer me a fruit, like a fruit's a big thing, right? Especially in traditional society, just go out in your backyard, pick a fruit. And a tulsi leaf out of your garden with 50 tulsi plants, and a little water from your well, patra pushpam, flower. I mean, why does Krishna say those things? What does Prabhupada say? Because everybody has those things. Everybody can offer that. So it's not the thing that Krishna is interested in. Krishna is Rasika Shekhara. He's the summit of rasa. He exists for loving exchanges. And he lets us love him, which is his mercy. Because we're not really qualified to do these things for him. And he lets us love him. So if we understand these things, then it's easier when we do our seva and so forth to go beyond the external and realize, well, the essence is my own emotion, my own feeling, my own dedication. Not that externals are not important. And especially in sadhana, it's quite important. There's so many external things we have to do. But what's the value of your Hare Krishna mantra if it's not endowed with some bhakti? What's the value of your offering if it's not endowed with some bhakti? What's the value of your class if it's not endowed with bhakti? What's the value of anything if it's not endowed with bhakti? Bhakti attracts Krishna. We want to please Krishna. And bhakti is attractive that it attracts the public. That's what, we think they're attracted to my nice kirtan, they're attracted to my nice class, but actually they're attracted to whatever bhakti we manifest. That's the most attractive thing. And the class, the kirtan, the temple, all these things are manifestations of that bhakti as much as we have. And what's the opposite of bhakti? Pride. Why am I doing this? To be honored, to get something. No bhakti. And it's all about me again. I can do bhakti, but it can be about me. What could be more of a paradox? If it's about you, just go out and be about you. If you're doing bhakti, it's about Krishna. Of course, akama savakama va. That verse is there. But for us who are practicing bhakti, it's about Krishna. It's not about us. We were saying last night, sometimes when we get certain feelings, I feel hurt, I feel this, I feel that. As humans, we do feel hurt and we feel this and that. But sometimes we can get so absorbed in how we feel, we forget how Krishna feels. That's our disease. And it's a big disease. Sometimes we're discussing something. Should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? And we can look at it logically, and we can look at it in so many ways. But the first question should always be, is this going to please Guru and Krishna? Because if it's not, why are we talking about it in another way? We're trying to come to some understanding if this is what Guru and Krishna want. But if we come to some understanding without confirming that that's what they want, that's not good. There's a story. Forget the details. I can't remember. But Prabhupada contradicted himself. He said to do something that previously he said not to do, or he said not to do something that previously he said to do. So when Prabhupada gave the instruction, he said, the devotee said, but Prabhupada, before you told us not to do it. Now you're telling us to do it. And Prabhupada said, if you believe me then believe me now. So it's not about adherence, it's not just about adherence to a rule or regulation, but it's about pleasing the Guru. So if the Guru does a change up on you, gives you another instruction, and that's what he wants you to do, that's your bhakti. That's how you do your bhakti. It pleases him. We have stories of Prabhupada sometimes telling devotees to do something that they never told anyone else to do or to not do. But for that specific devotee, Prabhupada wanted that devotee to do something and not do something. But Prabhupada, that's against our principle. But now because he wants it, the higher principle is Guru Nishta, faith in the Guru, Bhakti to the Guru. So we can't forget that's what it's all about. Otherwise, we'll try to please Krishna with material perfection. So we obviously want to do things nicely, that's for sure. But doing it nicely without bhakti, it's not going to please Krishna. So now you have this prasadam, you're offering it to Krishna, right? But what are you actually offering? Are you offering the prasadam? Or are you offering the bhakti with which you offer the prasadam? You're actually offering the bhakti. And the prasadam is just an excuse. It's just a vehicle. It's a vehicle to carry that bhakti to the deity. And all that cooking and that consciousness, it's all putting bhakti into it. And the offering is all putting bhakti into it. These are just vehicles for bhakti. And that's what it's all about. That's what deity worship is meant to develop. Bhakti. And then we see many devotees are chanting their rounds, but they're lacking bhakti. It's just, I have to do it. They miss the point. They're turning it into a process rather than an offering of bhakti, devotion. There's a saying that, how do you know you're advancing in bhakti? You know because when you hear Krishna's name, you start crying. That's how you know. That's how you know you're in bhakti. Who was it? Was it Raghunath Das when he read his Bhagavatam was always wet? Because when he'd read it, he was crying. That kind of reading, that's good. That's good reading. The Brahmin is reading Bhagavad Gita who's illiterate and he's crying, thinking of how Krishna was serving Arjuna by being his chariot carrier. And Mahaprabhu said, you are the real student of Bhagavad Gita. And he couldn't even read it, but he got the bhakti. The wives of the Brahmins didn't get it. Very learned, but they didn't get the bhakti. Their wives got the bhakti. And then the Brahmins realized, our wives are more advanced than you. So if you have the bhakti, then you have everything. Knowledge. What is knowledge meant to develop? It's meant to cultivate bhakti. What is the value of knowledge without bhakti? Prabhupada was once asked a devotee, why do you read my books? But he said, to learn the philosophy. Prabhupada said, no, we read my books to chant purely. So we can chant purely. Why do we read these books? So we can serve with bhakti. That's why. Not to just accumulate knowledge for knowing's sake. That's not the point. So we just have to remember that, and then in everything we do, we won't do it in the mode of, I just have to get it done. That's my bhakti. That's part of your bhakti. But how you do it, how you offer that service to Krishna. That's the most important thing, and then the service will purify. So that's what I have to say about that. Hare Krishna. Yes, sir. Question.
Yeah. Can we jumpstart the bhakti, trying to please Krishna?
Yeah.
Just do it.
You can always do something better than what you're doing now. You can't say you can just do it all the way to prema. There's a process, but you can just do the process. Right? Like we're helpless in developing prema, but we're not helpless in doing the process that will develop it. So, what do we do now? Okay, I want to jumpstart it. Okay, we can jumpstart it to a certain degree. Krishna, and Prabhupada said, you bring this offering to Krishna, and you say, Krishna, I brought you this offering, and I'm not qualified to offer this to you, and I know I have nothing of value to give you, and what I'm offering is nothing, but I beg you, please accept it. That's your bhakti. So all your service, Krishna, please accept it. Please, I'm just doing this to please you, please accept it. Okay, I don't have prema, but I can have that mood. Right? So you take control of your mood, to take control of how you're thinking when you're cooking. Like that. Take control of how you're offering things. Everything is about do it with devotion. Do it to please Guru and Krishna. We're just trying to get like the ABCs. And the ABCs, do something in your life that's not for you. Because without bhakti, everything we do is for us, directly or indirectly. Even if it's for someone else, usually it's to make us happy, indirectly. A lot of times people like to serve, which is good, it makes them happy. Still some connection with, I want to be happy. But bhakti is, I want to make Krishna happy. So we're just trying to think, let me do this to please Krishna. That's it. That's all you need. All you need is love. Love is all. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. It's easy. All you need is love. It's so true. We did so many things for Prabhupada out of love. We put in one way we did. And that's what's attractive to the public. We have love. So the answer is yes, you can muster up that love in terms of attitude. And understand that bhakti is about pleasing Krishna. All I've been doing in the material world is trying to please myself. Bhakti is about pleasing Guru and Krishna. So whatever I do, I have to think, how will this please Krishna? I have to do it to please him. Not just do it to get it done. That's not good. I mean, we have to get things done, of course. Hare Krishna. You okay?
Very good. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. It's time for your favorite activity. Mahaprasadi go.
For the pleasure of Krishna.
Yeah, see, we don't eat prasadam, we honor it. Because it's Krishna's mercy. So we don't eat it as an ordinary enjoyer, but this is Krishna's mercy to honor. In Gaudiya Math, only senior devotees serve out prasadam. Because they consider only mercy comes from seniors, doesn't come from juniors. So they're qualified to give mercy, so only they will serve it. Interesting, isn't it? We will now take the mercy of Krishna.
Is our eating also an offering?
Yeah. Because Krishna's happy when we take his prasadam. And a lot of devotees, when they eat, they won't talk, but just honor. This is the meditation. In Puri, if you give someone Mahaprasad, the first thing they'll do is take off their shoes and sit down. They won't eat standing or with shoes on. And even though they have a dining table, if you bring Mahaprasad to their house, they'll all take it on the floor. So honor from a humble position. So everything done with devotion, not just passionately. Right? Just like we offer arti nicely, beautifully. We should do everything like that. And if Krishna's pleased with what we do, that's our perfection. If he's not pleased, that's our failure. Right? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Haribol.